interest. Let's now talk to someone who knows Leicester more than most. Outside the King Power Stadium is BBC Radio Leicester football commentator Ian Stringer. Ian, good morning. So, well, the rest of the football world may be full of shock, perhaps fuelled by sentiment, but what are the die-hard Leicester fans there really thinking? Is it such a surprise for them, and are some even relieved, given that woeful league form?
Mike, I hosted a radio show last night from about 8:30 until 10 o'clock, an hour and a half, and we were struggling for people to come on and confirm they thought it was a good idea. This time yesterday, I was in Seville with hundreds, thousands of Foxes fans talking about that Jamie Vardy goal being a lifeline for Claudio's club in the second leg here at the King Power Stadium early in March, that a 2-1 deficit, they could overturn it and the Italian could have them into the quarter-finals of the Champions League. I looked into Claudio's eyes at the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan Stadium after the game. He had no idea. He thought it had been a good result. Clearly, he's fallen on his sword. People last night on the air were gutted, very, very emotional people. He gave this football club the best years they've seen in 133.
Absolutely. So you were there in Spain, where apparently the board were there also. So you didn't really see any evidence then of this breakdown, supposed breakdown in the bond between the players and Ranieri, that has to be to blame because whoever comes in can only work with the same bunch of players.
Absolutely right. There's no transfer window until the summer. You'd expect Craig Shakespeare to take charge of the game against Liverpool on Monday. What an enormous game that turns out to be. The new manager, Mike, might walk in, well, he's going to walk in and take charge of a Champions League last 16 second leg, which in itself defies belief. And only, I know it's only, but a 1-0 win here and they're through. The away goal will count and they'll go through to the quarter-finals. So the relationship with the players has been spoken about. They looked like they were certainly together in Seville earlier on in the week, on Wednesday night, but I'm led to believe that Claudio's fate was probably sealed before that game, after the Millwall defeat, a third-tier team knocking the Foxes out of the FA Cup. He was given the bad news, having landed from the trip to Sevilla yesterday afternoon, and he'll be packing his bags, saying his goodbyes, and the King's dead. But long live the King.
Yes, indeed, to continue that fairy tale theme. Do you think then the timing, just a day after, as you say, it was an improved display in Spain, we saw glimpses of last season's spirit, Vardy scored again, he got back on the score sheet. Does it suggest the board have got a cunning plan up their sleeve and maybe a certain Roberto Mancini?
Mancini was a legend here. I say a legend, he was on loan for a very short period. About 100 yards behind our camera position, I watched him as a young boy, Roberto Mancini, play on loan for Leicester City Football Club. The crowd loved him. Would he come to a relegation-threatened Leicester City in the Premier League? I don't know. I'll say this, Mike, I followed this football club in a professional capacity for 9 years. There have been times where they've had their fingers burnt getting rid of managers and not having a replacement. I think of Sven-Göran Eriksson. I think of Nigel Pearson. It took them a while to appoint Claudio in the summer. They did, and we all know what happened. To sack him after a defeat, a good defeat, a winning defeat in Sevilla, the day after, smacks of the possibility of a replacement being lined up. Maybe not having been spoken to, but there could be a replacement relatively soon.
Ian, thank you very much indeed. That was fascinating, especially hearing about that show last night on Radio Leicester, where it seems a lot of emotion was poured out, because it is such a bizarre.
And the idea that he had even as he was sort of celebrating